All right, guys, today is Sunday, March 24th, and I'm going to go over what I was looking for last week and what I'm looking for going into this week. And I know last week we had the FOMC on Wednesday, which I'm going to go over here. We actually had it unexpected spike, I guess you could say, but the overall move that we were looking for still played out. So I'm going to start off here on the Euro USD. Now, basically last week, what I was talking about was trying. Well, I did initiate some shorts here, but I was looking at a resistance point and a support point right over here. Okay, so we closed the week under this trend line. From what I remember, what I said is that I don't know if what's going to happen here. If we're going to gap down or if we're going to gap up, below this trend line and then continue to the downside. Well, we gapped up and it found some support, but came back down, closed that gap, and then finally the next day, on Tuesday, this kind of had me a little, wondering if the market wanted to pull back more than, instead of the market continuously going to the downside, that we were going to have some kind of pullback, maybe a little bit higher, maybe up to like 1.09. But looking at down here at the MACD, I started noticing that we had this low, which if I bring this tool up here, let me see. Okay, so this low here matching up with this low here on the MACD. Now, once it got here, I noticed that we had kind of like a hidden divergence, right? You have this low here, and then the MACD making some kind of a lower low, but this was still showing some support. So when when Jerome Powell came out, started talking, this was going up and down, up and down. I thought maybe we were gonna just fade out. Maybe it was gonna be an up move, and then fade out, and then go to the downside. But then a little at the more he spoke, the more it started pushing, gaining momentum to the upside. So I said, okay, this is probably gonna move to much higher. Didn't know how strong, because here's the thing when it comes to FOMC or any other NFP or unemployment, any type of major data that comes out, sometimes the market makes a move and then it starts creeping in a certain direction, right? And well, especially for FOMC's when FOMC statement when Jerome Powell starts talking and it starts creeping up little by little. So this was pretty much flat, and then he started as he started talking, it started creeping up, maybe about point 0.20, point 0.30, point 0.40, and then by the time you knew it, at the end it was point 0.50, and this was a pretty strong bar here. So I had some short positions down here that were cut. I was still held on to my positions up here, and I'll go into what my positions are right now in just a moment. But after we got this strong up move, you can see that it was just like hardly any fade. There was hardly any upper wick. It was just a really strong up move with these strong lower wicks, indicating that hey, this was major support. So I didn't give up on the short positions yet, even though the lighter short positions I had down here I cut and I held on to these. I wanted to see if the market was going to find resistance around that pivot zone, right around here, which obviously you can see it did. But you can see it was more like a washout. Anybody that was holding short here, it pretty much washed all that out. And at the start of the next candle, it tried to push even further up to 1.0940 until it finally started fading. And then I started adding more short positions once again. So this was pretty much a washout, but resistance held up. And then we started to move to the downside again really nicely. Now, I still have my positions right now on the short positions on the Euro USD. You can see I have them right over here on the right side. But now I'm looking for this area to hit once again. Let me draw this out here. Okay, this is my two median zones. Long-term median and a short-term median. Now, you guys can go to my other videos, or you guys can comment, or even send me a message if you want to know what median levels are. But this helps determine what what area of the market is going to find some support or resistance. So in February, you could see there was some strong support here, bounced up over to this pivot zone, and then now it looks like we're slowly coming down to this area right over here. If we start trading below 1.8 and below this, right, resistance or support. Now, once again, I don't know if we're going to gap down or we're going to gap up, or what's going to happen here, right? We have to wait to see what the market's going to do. But if we gap down and we pull up, we hit, and this trend line is finding to be resistance, I'm going to end up going up, adding more short positions. For a drop further, I feel that we'll break this area over here and start landing in this zone right over here, the next area of support, which is 1.05. Well, I have my take profit at 1.0580, but this zone right here is going to be one to watch. Okay, this is support one. So I feel we continue to drop and fall into this level. This area is going to be a major move. Now, this is also assuming that the market continues to the downside. We break below this median zone, and then we find some support here. But this, in my opinion, is going to be a significant area of support for major move to the upside. And I've been saying, I don't know, maybe for a couple of months now, that I'm very bullish on the Euro USD. I'm bullish across the board when it comes to against the USD. If I look on the weekly chart, okay, this whole thing here is a bullish pattern, but I won't go into that right now. But if I get closer and I draw that same level that I was showing you on the daily chart, you can see this major support over here, major support here, and major support here. And if it turns out to be a pattern, it'll probably turn out to be maybe some type of descending triangle, right? You have support, resistance, bounce of support, resistance. Found some support here, resistance, and now it looks like it's wanting to come further down, and then find some support here. If we get to this level here, I'm looking for the MACD for this to come down further. Let me see. I'm terrible with my drawing tools because I don't really use them too much, but when I do, I try to put them in a certain category so I can remember where they are. But so if this MACD starts coming here and we breach this low and the market continues to come down, this is probably going to be a hidden divergence. Okay, we'll see something like this. A low, MACD creates a lower low, and it will either be a equal low or a slightly higher low. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And then if we get in the zone, I'm going to be looking for buys for the market to take off completely for the rest of the year. Where would I want to get a precise entry if that's the case? Well, again, I'm going to use my support to resistance to support trendline tool, which again, I have a video on how I do this, but if you guys want me to get more in depth, just let me know and look at it in the comments. But support to resistance. I'm going to take a support zone right over here and connect it to a resistance zone. You can even see that it issued a strong support area right here. I mean, this is like super ideal. But if we get around here, I'm expecting for this trend line to be some sort of support again. If I want to draw a resistance or a support, start with a resistance here, a support over here, and this is still my area of confluence where I want to take a long position. If we end up going lower than this, then I'm going to open it up to, the next level, which is next meeting level is 1.033. But I don't think that we're going to get lower than that. So overall, this market's still in a big range. And if you take a look, this is still kind of like an uptrend. We had a nice, move from all the way down from 1.09, and you can see it's just one big trend. I mean, excuse me, one big consolidation, right? So I feel like we're gonna get one more support bounce in this area, and then finally take off. Now, why do I feel like we're gonna take off? Well, because if I look at the monthly chart, actually, let's go further out to the 3 month chart. Remember, this is still a wedge overall. Let me draw this a little darker so you guys can see. Okay. So yeah, this is a really long time frame, but at the same time, I feel like it's going to stop here, and then it's finally going to start moving to the upside. How far, that still determines, what the trend's going to look like. Even if you know, or you have a good idea of where the market's likely to go, you don't know how it's going to get there. So that's a puzzle piece in itself, where you're trying to figure out, how the market's going to move, right? Because even from the long term perspective, you have this. We know this is a bullish pattern, right? Whether it plays out or not, but you don't know on the lower time frame that this was going to be a consolidation for the last couple of years. So again, you don't know how the market's going to play out, but you have to go in the air in the direction that you see the pattern playing out. So that's why I'm leaning more to the bullish side. Now, if we go down again to the weekly, again, I'm looking for this to come down, and this is kind of like a triangle, not a major one, but I can even draw that out for you guys. Right, it's not perfect, but you can see the triangle, right? Resistance, support, resistance, some support here, some resistance, and then I feel we might find some little bit of support here, and then finally break out. What's funny about this is that I talk in detail about a book that I read many years ago that got me into not just chart patterns, but statistics behind them. And what I found is that usually, when triangles break out, they tend to go to their starting point before reversing. And in this case, you have. Let me get my drawing tool again. You have resistance support, resistance support, resistance support, and every breakout to the downside, it'll continue down to where it originally started, which I find pretty interesting. All right, so that's going to be the analysis for the Euro USD. Again, I'm holding on to these short positions that I have laid out. I want to see this market continue much lower. I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a pullback, but if we do continue to the downside, I feel like it's going to be somewhere around here in this median zone, somewhere between 1.0780 and 1.0750 before maybe we get some kind of consolidation or some type of pullback, or even then, again, like I just said, you never know how the market's going to react or how it's going to get into a certain direction or to a certain zone. So for all we know, this market could continue down, straight down. I don't think that's going to happen, but again, we don't know exactly how the price action is going to play out. So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen at the open. And then again, like I said, if we start getting below this, or specifically if we stay below this trend line, which I prefer, right here, maybe get a move down, pull back into this trend line where I could add more short positions and then a continuation to the downside. For us to stay below this, ideally below 1.08, and then start taking profits. Once we get anywhere close to this area, I'll just completely just take all profits, and I won't be looking for any any shorting opportunities, and I'll be looking more to the long side to see how we can capitalize on the big move that I feel that it's coming. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoy this analysis. Um, Again, if you have any questions, you can even go to internaltrader.com, or you can send me in the comments, send me a message, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. So trade safe, manage your risk, because that's extremely important. That'll keep you in the game, and that way you still have capital to trade, and be able to limit your losses. All right, so I'll see you guys in the next video.